We don't have much more detail at this point in time, Ayush, except for what you have already shared with viewers and the fact that the stock seemed to have anticipated this earlier today. It was down 6%, whereas, stocks of comparable companies such as SpiceJet, etc., were down 1 or 2%. So it was not a sectoral impact. I think what we understand is that Aditya Ghosh is leaving for personal reasons. That he's leaving so quickly is surprising. He will be done, as you pointed out, as president of the company effective July 31st, and he will also leave and will be stepping down as director even earlier than that. April 26th, that's yesterday, is effectively when he stepped down as director, and July 31st he'll give up his executive responsibilities altogether. Now, charge goes back to Rahul Bhatia, the co-founder of the airline. He will take on the mantle of interim chief executive officer. I understand that the obvious use of the word interim suggests that they will look for new leadership from here on, and I'm sure that this will not be seen as investors as an easy transition for anybody to make, which is not to suggest that Rahul Bhatia does not understand how this airline runs. He is the founder of it, but Aditya Ghosh has provided some very marvelous leadership to this airline over the last several years, and his sudden departure will come as a surprise to investors. Ayush?
Right, Menaka. We also have Mayur Milak, research analyst, institutional equity at Anand Rathi, joining us on the phone line. Mayur, thanks so much for speaking to us. Menaka was just breaking down the details for us. Would you say that this is a development that really explains today's big fall in the stock price?
Yeah, I think that's correct. It's not Anand Rathi, it's IndiaNivesh Securities. And coming to the news, yes, I think big negative. I think Aditya Ghosh has been one of the key guys to really, see the development in IndiGo. And I think he's leaving the post will definitely have a negative impact on the performance and the stock price.
Absolutely, and Menaka, also, you were talking about some of the reasons a little earlier. We're also going to have a few more guests joining in and a few more experts joining in as well. Menaka, if you could also share any more details. I know this is an ongoing story and it's just broken. If you could share a few more details with us.
No, well, I think this is what we have, Ayush, and I think the question to put to Mayur is really whether, Rahul Bhatia taking over as interim chief executive officer of the company will assuage some concerns on this front, given that he's co-founder of the company. Mayur, how do you read the fact that, the airline for at least the time being will be in the charges in the hands of Rahul, and thereafter I would imagine they will appoint new leadership as and when the search of this concludes successfully?
Honestly, if you ask me, I think at a time when the company has decided to change strategy, from being a one fleet to multi-fleet, from really having an operational lease to really going to owning some assets, I think a guy as critical as Aditya Ghosh to really see the turnaround in the new strategy would have really played a key role. The fact that he'll be missing, and even if, Rahul picks up, and the fact that they are only mentioning him as an interim CEO clearly means that they're looking for somebody. I would really say that it's a big challenge. Especially in this scenario where, you are seeing crude really going up at 73 plus 74, the rupee depreciating. And so I think it's going to be a big challenge. And for the time being, with the kind of rally that we've seen in the stock, I would definitely believe it's a big negative on the stock price.
So you expect, Mayur, that the stock price will further react on Monday to this news, despite the fact that it dropped almost 6% today. We could see, further downside to the stock as the market and investors absorb this information and also try and understand whether this next leadership of IndiGo Airlines will be as capable as Aditya Ghosh has been.
Yeah, so this industry has not been a very sweet industry. You really needed very capable guys to run it through, and the fact that IndiGo made profits for the last 8 years, I think was all a lot of credit goes to the executives who are really handling the show. I would definitely believe that with crude up, there are fundamental reasons also which really are negative for the industry as such, and the fact that IndiGo really has lost a key guy will definitely play a big role on the stock price.
Two follow-up questions here. First, that not only has this come out of the left field, if I may call it that, because, Aditya Ghosh has resigned as a director of the company as of yesterday, and he will be giving up executive responsibility in just a couple of months from now, which is July 31st. So this has come all of a sudden. Does it to you, therefore, suggest that there is more than, meets the eye here?
See, honestly, I don't want to speculate on that. Unless you don't really know the details from the management, would be difficult to really take a call on that. All I really can say is a key guy moving out at a time when the industry or the company would really need him can dent, the future prospects of a company. You really need somebody as capable as him, and that would take some time, some judgment to really see whether IndiGo holds on the leadership position the way it has done in the last 6-7 years.
Follow-up question is this then, that, is there anybody else within the executive leadership team at IndiGo that you would repose confidence in? Currently, it is Rahul Bhatia, interim CEO. I'm sure that they will appoint a committee as well as an agency to look for a new leader. But is there anyone from within that you believe could become the next leader of this company? This is not a company that actually puts its leadership out there in the public in any dramatic fashion. So anyone that you may know of in your interactions with the company that might be able to hold the boat steady till new leadership comes on board?
No, not really. I don't think I can speculate on that.
Also, right. Just to add to that, we also have PR Sanjay joining us on the phone line from Bloomberg News. PR Sanjay, my question to you is, this is a massive development coming out of the IndiGo hangar. What are you picking up on this story?
Oh, this is a surprise announcement. Because there were some rumors, which is rumors mill going on since last year, but people actually discounted because this is most toughest time and most turbulent time for the country's largest airline by passengers carried and by fleet as well. Because this is, they have been facing a little bit troubles with the new aircraft, which is A320, which is supposed to be expected to be the game changer. And of course, they had managed immediately after the IPO, they convinced their shareholders about the benefits of A320 Neos, but they didn't expect this kind of a technical delays and engine problems, which has actually had impacted its little bit credibility as well.
His exit, Aditya Ghosh's exit, has to do with these recent problems that the airline has faced, especially the engine-related problems?
So there is no clear-cut answers for that, because the statement simply says that the regulatory filing is not clear about all the stuff. But when we actually scan through the affairs of airlines at this point of time, the major problems faced by airline. This airline it's not about market share. It's not about profitability. It's been consistently making profits. It's been consistently doing great in on-time performance in every single parameter. But what they missed actually is, for any airline, if there's a new machine which is being introduced, be it 737 or be it the original A320s or class 10 or 787s, for that what happened for Air India, they had faced turbulent time. They had faced problems with this new machine and its engine.
You're suggesting then in some ways that there is a connection between the problem that they've had with regards to the grounded aircraft and the engine-related trouble and Aditya Ghosh's departure. We're also joined by our markets editor, Neeraj Shah, who joins us on the line. And Neeraj, Mayur was just talking to us a short while ago on how the stock is going to take this rather negatively on Monday, even though we saw a 6% fall today. Do you want to jump in with some thoughts on this development?
No, Menaka, I actually heard the whole discussion, almost everything encapsulated. Just keep in mind that the stock was almost trading at new highs. Despite the troubles that it has had, the passenger traffic growth and the market share hasn't really dipped too much. Those numbers have stayed rock steady for IndiGo. So the investor community has been rather sanguine in rewarding the stock. That it has come out of the blue, and today's 5% move suggests that it was very few people who probably knew about this. You would attribute this fall to this move, but hardly anybody in the market had a whiff about it. So the real reaction, if you will, could likely be seen on Monday and thereabouts. But I did hear you say, Menaka, that he's still going to be continuing in the executive role for the next couple of months. I would presume that is to ensure a smoother transition.
Till July 31st. And anyways, I think the interim charge is in Rahul's hands, who is the co-founder of the airline. So he's not unfamiliar with the operations. But as Mayur was pointing out, Aditya Ghosh has really been quite marvelous for this company's performance in the last several years, except for these last few months when they've had engine trouble.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see, Menaka, who they eventually manage to get in as the new CEO. But as history shown us in the past, with some of the, I think Sanjay wants to come in, or maybe with a comment as well.
No, absolutely, Neeraj. Neeraj, we'll have to leave it at that. We wanted to cover this on the show.